What is up, my fellow wizards, and welcome to another episode of Building EDH. Today we're going to be talking about Radha, Heart of Keld. Radha is a 3-drop, Gruul, 3/3, Elf Warrior. As long as it's your turn, Radha, Heart of Keld has first strike. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play land cards from the top of your library, and you can pay 6. Radha will get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of lands you control. So I went very straightforward with this deck. This is probably a power level 6 to an 8 on a good day. It's all about putting lands into play as fast as possible so you can beef up for that final ability and swing in with Voltron damage. I even got a couple cards in there that help with the Voltron style, give it some trample, and I can't wait to show you this deck. Here we go. So we're going to start off with the ramp in the deck, the non-creature based ramp. We got Burgeoning, Rampant Growth, 3 Visits, Kodama's Reach, Kalani Heart Expedition, Broken Bond, Cultivate, Journey of Discovery, Nissa's Pilgrimage, Skyshroud Claim, Explosive Vegetation. All of those are made at sorcery speed to just quickly get some lands into play for you. Next, we're going to go on to the creature-based ramp. I wanted to include a lot of creatures in here because usually in Voltron you just focus on the individual commander and it can get hated out a lot. But Radha, thankfully, has a low CMC, and because you're putting a bunch of lands into play, that's probably the biggest strength in this deck, is it can get hated out time and time and time again, and in theory, provided the deck's doing what it's supposed to do, you should be able to cast it constantly, no matter what the cost is, keeping Radha in play and swinging at faces. All that said, we're going to go straight into the Arboreal Grazer. Wood Elves, Sakura Tribe Elder. All of these cards, by the way, are either going to put a land into play when they enter, or they are going to have an ability that puts land into play, such as Burnished Heart, Walking Atlas, Farhaven Elf, and the Veteran Explorer, Badoka Gardener, Sakura Tribe Scout. And then we're moving on to the section of the deck that I wanted to set aside because they specifically say you may play an additional land on each of your turns, such as here with Dryad of the Elysian Grove. With Radha, you're going to be able to play from the top of your deck, so being able to constantly play lands is a must in this deck just to keep it going fast. Then we have Explore. You can play an additional land, draw a card. Scale the Heights. This is a lot on a card. It is sorcery speed, but you get to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, you gain 2 life, you get to play that additional land, and you draw a card. Value. Pure value. Next we have Azusa, Lost But Seeking, more additional land drops. Wayward Swordtooth, Oracle of Moldiah, Exploration, and then Mina and Den Wildborn. Alright, now we are going to move on to the more Voltron aspects of the deck. We have, starting with Sword of the Animist, Blackbade Reforged to keep the theme of land control in there. We got Sword of Vengeance to give it the trample that it needs to get through, even if there's blockers. Continuing that with Forebear's Blade, Shadow Spear, Whisper Silk Cloak, Haunted Cloak, Trailblazer Boots, and Lightning Greaves. And we have 1 enchantment aura in the deck. It's Bear Umbra. Whenever this creature attacks, untap all lands you control, and it's got totem armor, so it's like a little layer of protection. Awesome card. Awesome card. So next we're going to move on to some of the things that draw in the deck. We got Garook's Uprising. It draws us a card. It'll continue to draw us a card as long as we have a creature with power 4 or greater, and it gives everything trample in one go. Guardian Project, great in most green decks, especially in Commander. You play any creature, you basically just get to draw a card as long as it's not a token. We got Renin 7. We're going to pull all these lands out. We got Crash Through. Creature gains trample until end of turn, and it cantrips. You get to draw a card. So we got Faithless Looting. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Valakut Awakening is amazing. It doubles as a land on the backside, but most importantly, at instant speed, for 3 mana, you put any number of cards from your hand at the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards +1. So you're netting 1, and you're effectively getting rid of your whole hand. Really useful. Renegade Tactics, this was just a quick cantrip I put in there. Target creature can't block this turn in case there's one-on-one versus Radha. Get to draw. Overwhelming Stampede, a really good game ender in this deck. You pay the 6 mana to buff up Radha, and then you cast Overwhelming Stampede. Radha plus any other creature that's in play is going to be plus Radha's power. Devastating. Speaking of devastating, we have Relentless Assault. You can untap all creatures that attack this turn, and after this main phase, there's an additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase. So in case you just can't quite get lethal with Radha, this will make sure you can. All this Voltron stuff we got going on, we got to be able to protect it, right? So we got Heroic Intervention. We got Veil of Summer. Rapid Vigor to regenerate each creature you control. Rhythm of the Wild to protect against counters and to give Radha and any other creature haste. Blasphemous Act. This is a fantastic board wipe in this deck. It is the only board wipe that I put in here. If done correctly, you can board wipe everything except for Radha. Just beef up Radha to pass 13 toughness and cast Blasphemous Act. Return to Nature to get rid of any pesky thing in the graveyard, artifact, or enchantment in play. Alright, and then we're moving on to some of the, I'll call them support creatures in the deck. They kind of do similar things to what Radha does. I just didn't want to singularly rely on Radha to get the job done. Just in case. You can get some variety, get some other things for people to waste removal on. So we got Omnath, Locus of Rage. Phylath, World Sculptor. Avenger of Zendikar. A lot of elementals in the deck. Following up with Multani, Yamimaya's Avatar. Then we have Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, making all these non-token creatures we make lands, buffing up Radha even more. Seedborn Muse, just to untap all permanents we control, lands included, and Radha, so it gives Radha vigilance practically, and you can use the ability to buff her up whenever threatened. Xenagos, God of Rebels, is going to come into play to give Radha haste if need be, and to double her attack power. Then we're finally off to the lands of the deck. I only have a few utility lands here. Kessig Wolfrun, amazing. You can just pay Gruul X and tap it, and it'll give Radha a buff until end of turn. Then you got Rogue's Passage, of course. You want to make Radha unblockable. The opportunity arises. Then you have Temple of the False God, just to add some additional mana. And then we got some of the dual lands in the deck. Here's Cinderglade, Mountain Valley, Highland Forest, Rugged Highlands. And we got Gruul Turf. And finally, we have all the basics in the deck. There are a total of 40 lands in the deck, about 13 of which are forests, and about 18 are mountains. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It's a great way to show your love and keep this dream of mine alive. All my socials are linked in the description below if you want to follow me and keep up to date with everything EDH outside of YouTube. If you're thinking about making this deck or just want to use it for inspiration, I've included a link to the deck list below as well. Thanks again for watching, and stay foil.